Okay, I think we're now ready to start. So my name is Sam. I'm the Customer Success Manager here at StoryChief. It's my job to onboard users, answer your questions. You'll probably see me pop up here and again in your email mailbox. So what is this webinar about? We want to show you, our users, what we've been working on in StoryChief, what our new features are. And this webinar will be kind of showing the last few months. So you may already be aware of some of these features, but even still, you should know a lot more after this demo. Okay, so you should now see my screen here. If you don't, let me know if I'm too quiet. Also, give me a heads up. So you should be very familiar by now. This is our dashboard. What I want to show first is some of the new editor embeds that we've added into StoryChief. So what I want to do, I'm going to jump into a story here, and I can demonstrate them to you. Okay, great. So here we are in our editor, very familiar to you by now, I assume. So we have a few things I want to cover today in our editor. One of them is some of the ways we can embed content. In our last update, we added Spotify. So how does that work in StoryChief? Well, it works very similar to our other audio integrations. So what you need to do is just copy a link to a Spotify track, either a song or a podcast. It doesn't matter what content it is. So I have one here already. Let me just copy that here. And the same way as that you embed any other content in StoryChief, you do it via our media embedder bar here. So we choose the rich media button. We enter that link to that Spotify track. We hit enter, and it's then added into your story. So again, very simple, very easy, just like you used to already. Okay, so, and then when you publish, you can then, the readers can play that song or that podcast directly from your story. Okay, so moving on, we also have Issue. If you're not aware of what Issue is, it's a way you can create digital magazines. Say if you're a traditional publisher, I think you may already be using that. So how do we also embed that? Again, it's very similar to what I just showed you with Spotify. You head over to the issue site. Here, for example, you go to your own publication or magazine and you copy the link to it. So here we have an example here from the BBC. We just copy the link. We go back to StoryChief. We go to a new line in our media embedder, and then we add it via that link and press enter. And again, just like when we embedded Spotify just now, once you've published that story, users can flick through that magazine just like they would on the actual issue site itself. Very easy to use. And also, again, you don't need to worry about having to embed any code. Just enter that link and it's added straight for you. Okay, so again, if there are any questions during this webinar, feel more than free to reach out to me via the chat. I'd love to hear from you and I can answer back. Okay, so moving on now. That's the two main editor embeds that we've added recently. There are still a few other things in our editor that we have recently implemented. One of them being Unsplash. Now with Unsplash, let me just demonstrate that for you how that kind of works. So whenever you try to add an image, traditionally you had to select one from your own computer. But what we've done now is we have integrated with Unsplash so that you can search for something. Let me just show you how that works. So let me just choose sloth, for example, just like behind me here. So you search for something, you press enter, and then you're presented with a gallery of images. And from this gallery, you can then choose an image and it gets embedded directly into your story. So here we have some images. We can also click next to see what else there is for us here. So there's lots of options. I think this one here is pretty cool, so I'm gonna pick that one. And the fantastic thing about Unsplash is that it is entirely free to use. There's no royalties you need to worry about. Just choose an image that you want to use, embed it into your story, and you're good to go. We do add a caption underneath the story as a kind of acknowledgement of the photographer. You do not need to keep that in the story, so you're more than free to also remove that. As I mentioned, it is royalty free. You can do what you want with it. Okay, so moving on to the next point, we have anchor links. Maybe wondering what anchor links are exactly. It is a way that you can jump backwards and forwards into your story. Let me just quickly show you how that works. I just need to put some text in the story quick, bear with me. So let me just go to this one here. This is our blog, by the way, so if you are looking for tips and tricks, maybe also looking for our new updates, definitely check out our blog. There's lots of great info in there. So let me just copy some text in, then I can show you what I mean by anchor links. So here we are, I have some text. Let's add some more as well, just for good measure. Now, how anchor links work is that if you have headers in your story, which I'm assuming you will, let's just create some here. Let's create a header. Let's create some more as well. So we have a couple of headers here. Let's add another one just for good measure. Here we are. So you see we have some headers set up. Now what we can do with the anchor links is that we can link to those headers. So if we say at the start of the story, if we want to turn this section here into an anchor link, what we do is we select it and we choose the link icon. And then we can choose either an external site, such as Google or any other website, or alternatively, we can hit this drop down here, we can click section, and then we can choose one of our headers in our story. So we have here those 3 headers that I created just a minute ago. We can choose one, we can hit save, and that's now set up, ready to be used in your story. So once you publish, if a reader is interested in jumping to a section, they can click on there and they'll be sent directly to that section of text. Okay, so that is how anchor links work. That pretty much covers everything that we have introduced recently into our editor. There are a few little tweaks here and there, but those are the main kind of points to cover. Before I move on, are there any questions in regards to the new editor functionalities? Again, you can always let me know via the chat, or if you're watching this as a recording afterwards, you're more than free to reach out to me either via our chat here or via email, sam@storychief.io, and I will get back to you when I can. Okay, so that's our editor covered for now. We also have some new channels that we implemented. Let's just look into them right now. So let's head on back to our dashboard. Now, the first one I want to take a look at is LinkedIn. If you've used StoryChief a lot in the past, probably aware that we did already have an integration with LinkedIn, but it only allowed you to publish to company pages, which is great, obviously, if you have a company page, but you may be wanting to publish to your own personal LinkedIn profile. We heard it a lot from our customers, so we made it one of our priorities to implement. So again, it's very similar to set up any other channel in your account. First, you head over to your channels page, like here, and then you scroll down to your social networks, and then you choose the LinkedIn profile option. And then again, you just go through the same steps as usual of clicking add new destination. You're then sent over to LinkedIn, as you see that I'm doing here. You sign in, and then you will be sent back to StoryChief, and it will be set up, ready to be used in your next story. Okay, so that's how LinkedIn works. Should be very familiar to you by now. Let's now look into another channel that we added, being Slack. So how do we set that one up? Again, it's very similar to LinkedIn just now, but the really cool thing about Slack is that I know we use it also a lot internally, and when someone writes a story, what they can now do is automatically share a link to a specific Slack channel. So very handy if you're working in a large team, then you can just send that link straight to all of your team members who can then share it on their own social networks. How do we set that up? So again, it counts as a social network. So we click on there, we click on Slack, and then we can add our destination. So let me do that here, show you how that works. So you'll be sent over to Slack. You then fill in your workplace URL. You click continue, it gets approved. You're then sent back to StoryChief, and then you can choose the individual channel as well. So obviously in Slack you have multiple channels, but you can really specify which of those channels you want to publish that link to. Okay, so that's how Slack works in StoryChief. those are the main channels that we've added recently. Again, any questions, let me know. We're always looking to add more channels to StoryChief. So if you have any suggestions, either let me know via the chat during the webinar or afterwards on our website, or again, via my email address. Okay, so we're about halfway through here. We still have a few things to cover. One of them is being able to customize social posts. Now this is a pretty big one, I find. So let me just show you how that kind of works together. So how you do that, you first go into your stories, you choose a story. So let me pick one here. So let's choose this one. This one should be already kind of filled in. Yeah, great. So how that works is you first go over to your audience tab where you choose which channels you want to publish to. And then what you can do is when you get down to social networks, you can start to customize things. So previously, how we used this image, what image we used, it was just a cover image for that story that you set in the summary tab here. But now with the ability to customize, you can choose a different image. Let me just go back down here. So you choose a different image. You can change the title. You can change the description. So you can really tailor that message for that platform, which I find really a really useful feature because many of our customers, they have different audiences on each social network. You may even have, say, multiple Twitter profiles and multiple Facebook pages, each with different people, different audiences. And with this customized feature, you can really tailor that message for them. So that's I find a really helpful feature to have. So you can choose an image here, you can upload it, say this one here, and you can change the size of the image. I picked the wrong button there, my apologies, I couldn't see very well. So you can upload the image. She does not want to do right now. Typical whenever you're doing a demo, things never work out just as you planned. Let me just refresh back into that quick. It's the curse of the webinar. Whenever you want to demonstrate something, it doesn't work correctly. So let's go back to customize here. Let's choose an image. We can crop it. I think there's a confirm button here that was hidden by my my webinar software. So hit confirm, and then it's added to that individual post. And you can change the title to custom title. And you can also add a different description here. And again, you'll see the text being added here, so you know what it will look like when you publish it. And you can see it's different from the other posts, so you can really tailor it for that audience. And this is a really cool feature, and it's also one of the features in our professional plan. So if you are interested in giving that a try, definitely sign up for that plan. You can also make use of a 14-day trial. Very useful if you want to give all our features a try before actually committing. So that's how that works. Okay. Right, moving on, I have one more thing I want to cover today, and that is being Zapier. So what is Zapier? I also didn't know what Zapier was before we actually introduced it. So I think a small introduction is probably necessary. Let me first head on over to Zapier so you can kind of see what it is about. To sum it up, it's a way to connect StoryChief to a different application. And we can see that they have over 1,400 different services and applications that we can connect to. Let me give you a kind of an example here. So imagine you use Pinterest, for example, and you want to create a new pin whenever you publish a story in StoryChief. Well, with Zapier, that is now possible. Another example is, say you are an avid Google Docs user and you want to create a new Google Docs document whenever you publish a story. That is also possible with Zapier and StoryChief. If you scroll down here, you can see some examples that we've already set up as templates for you to use. Lots of great stuff here. Yeah, because we try to integrate with as many applications and services as we can, but we know from experience that we cannot add everything that we want to or that our users use. But with Zapier, I believe that there will be some way that you can get around that limitation by integrating with Zapier. So let me just give a short demo of how you actually start to use that. So on our Zapier page here, we can search for an application. So let's say Google Docs. Let's choose that. So we say, okay, Google Docs, I want to use that. And then we can specify when we want it to fire. When do we want to actually use this automation? So we can hit this drop down button. We can say, okay, whenever I publish a story, I want to create a document, create document from template, create document from text. There's many different options here. So we say, okay, I want to do this. When this happens, we can then connect both to StoryChief and also to Google Docs. So I can say, okay, first you need to sign into Zapier, of course. Luckily, I already have an account. And then you'll be sent over to the to be able to create the automation. So first you need to connect to StoryChief. I've already done that. So I can say continue. And then afterwards, it will pull in a story from your account as an example. Then you can choose continue. Then you can connect to Google Docs, like here, for example. Then you will sign into Google. I'm not going to show you all the steps because it would probably be quite long to show, but what you do is you then connect to Google. It will then show you an example of how it will look when created. After that, you can save it, you can give it a name, and then you're good to go. Anytime you complete the action, in this case, publish a story, that automation will fire and it will be sent out to that application that you've chosen. So let me just go back here and I can share that link to you all in the chat if you want to give that a try yourself. This feature is available to all plans, so you do not need to sign up for a plan to be able to use this. So I do recommend giving it a try. I'm sure there's something that you will be able to use it for. I know I've already used it to be able to do stuff in my StoryChief account, so there should be something for you as well. Okay, I think I'm slowly running out of things to cover today. But before I leave you, I want to ask one more time, if there are any questions, let me know via the chat. Again, if you're watching a recording of this webinar, you can reach out to me via our chat on our website, or you can email me at sam@storychief.io. Again, this is a bit of a shorter webinar than usual, but I do want to just show you our webinar page. So every week we have a different webinar, one being an overview. So if you're a new user, this will show you how to create stories, how to publish stories, and everything in between. So definitely check that one out if you are new. Also, every week we have a different webinar, which is a themed demo or demonstration of a particular theme. So next week we have all about sharing your content from StoryChief, whether it be to social channels or to WordPress, anything like that. We'll be demonstrating that in that webinar next week. Let me just share that link in the chat here. So if you are interested in any of them, make sure to sign up. We know from experience that the times that we provide don't always work out well for all of our users. But if you do sign up, we will provide you with a link to the video afterwards so you can still catch up. Okay, so what else can I show you right now? Well, I think I should mention that our pricing plans just quickly. Let me just head on over to our pricing page. Now, the features I showed you today, the Spotify issue, using Unsplash, anchor links, being able to use Zapier, those are all features in our free plan. But some of the features I did show are in our paid plans. So for example, being able to publish to Slack. Those are features in our essential plan up to that Slack, and also being able to post to personal LinkedIn profiles, both in our essential plan, which is $10 a month. Moving on, we have also a feature that I showed today that is only in professional and in our tailored plans. That was the customize the customized social channels. So if that did seem interesting for you, definitely choose that professional plan. As mentioned, we do offer a 14-day trial when you pick your plan, and you can always cancel before the end if it's not quite right for you. Hopefully it is. If there are any issues, any questions, you can again always get in contact with me and I will help you out the best I can. As a way of saying thank you for sticking with me right to the bitter end, I do have a discount code that I can share with you today. Let me just type it in here quick. So it's webinar-19, and that allows you 15% off your first payment. So if you're paying monthly, it'll be 15% off your first month. Maybe perhaps more interesting is if you pay yearly, it's 15% off that entire year. So it's like getting more than a month extra for free. So it's definitely probably the most interesting option with that discount code. Okay, so I think I have talked about everything I wanted to today. Hopefully I'll see you again in a different webinar very soon. If not, you'll be seeing lots of communication via myself, via email. So I'm sure we'll see each other again very soon. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.